Recently, Jailbreak had another 5 days of vehicles event. But how good are these vehicles compared to the other 15 vehicles that Jailbreak has given us in past 5 days of vehicles events? I'm going to rank them today and figure that out. Remember, this is just my opinion and I'm ranking these vehicles based on their looks and their stats. So it's totally okay for you to disagree with me or have different criteria for ranking. Also, I have a tire in Jailbreak, so use code YouTubeNoobFreak if you want to get this tire in Jailbreak. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. Easily the worst vehicle is the UFO. The best thing about this vehicle is the exterior. I really like the design. I like that the disc is constantly moving when you're flying, but the interior is pretty basic. It doesn't have any controls or anything at all. As for stats, this is a very poor vehicle. It's worse than the Little Bird, which is less expensive, and it's very tedious to access. You can only find this vehicle in the military base, and there are much better options to use even at the military base. Overall, I think this is one of the worst vehicles in the game. After that, we have the Camper. I like the look of this vehicle. Unfortunately, it's not good in terms of stats. For the price, you would be better off just saving a little more and getting the Cybertruck. The stats are very poor. This is slower than the Camaro, which is a free car. Sadly, this vehicle is not worth purchasing. Then we have the Fire Truck. This vehicle actually has a good top speed at over 200 miles per hour. Unfortunately though, the acceleration is absolute trash. This vehicle is just straight up impractical to use in most situations. It accelerates so slowly that the cops chasing you will be able to catch up pretty easily. And if you're a cop trying to catch criminals, well, this is definitely not the vehicle to use. I'm glad they changed it to fit 6 people. It is a decent team vehicle, but there are better alternatives. As I mentioned, the Cybertruck works better. The ladder is a fun gimmick and kind of useful, but if you have a flying vehicle, then it's pretty pointless. Then we have the ambulance. This vehicle has okay stats and the healing gimmick is pretty good. I like that it heals people at a faster rate than the force field launcher to give a reason to still use it, but it's still largely impractical to use and I generally avoid using it. The force field launcher is generally good enough. Overall, the stats just aren't compelling enough to justify using this vehicle. Then we have the Lavula Lowrider. I really like the look of this vehicle. Zio2Su did an amazing job designing it, as she always does with her vehicles. And I love how you can toggle the Lowrider gimmick by pressing G. It's also a decent vehicle for teams since it can seat multiple people. However, the biggest issue this vehicle has is the amount of money you have to spend to get it. You can only get this vehicle from safes. If you have the VIP Game Pass, you get a free green safe every day, so all you have to do is just log in for several days and eventually you'll get the vehicle. But if you don't have the VIP, or if you're just impatient like me, then there's no telling how much money you'll have to spend to get this vehicle. I had to spend 400,000 J-Bucks to finally get a safe that had this vehicle in it, and the vehicle just isn't good enough to justify that amount of money. That really holds this vehicle back, but putting that aside, I think it's decent. Then we have the Ray 9. This vehicle is the epitome of the word mid. There's nothing super bad about it, but there's nothing all that good about it either. I think it looks perfectly fine, it has perfectly fine stats, it has a good enough spawn location, it can work as an escape vehicle for the casino, yet it's still pretty underused. It's just not a very compelling vehicle in my opinion. Then we have the Surus. This is a pretty good car in my opinion. It has good stats and it seats 4 people. It's a good team vehicle. It was widely used for a long time until the devs reduced the spawn point it had by introducing the interrogator. And now it's very difficult to find this vehicle since it spawns in a part of the town that players don't really go to that often. So it's not used that much in game, but I still think it's pretty good. Then we have the Trailblazer. This is a cool combo between a supercar and an off-road vehicle. It has pretty good stats. However, this vehicle is always too bouncy whenever I drive it. It's just annoying, and 1 million J-Bucks is really asking a lot for this vehicle, but it's still pretty good. Then we have the Tesla, one of the best starter vehicles. It seats 4 people, and if you can get the engine upgraded, it's really good. The reason it's this low on the list is because the rest of the vehicles here are just better when it comes to stats and related to their price. Then we have the Ferrari. I've never been a huge fan of this vehicle. I don't think it looks very good, but the stats are very solid. It's good for the price. If you're a mid-tier player, this is definitely a vehicle worth buying. Kicking off the top 10, we have the Challenger. Since this vehicle was added, it's become one of the most popular vehicles in-game. It has a great spawn point in front of the gun shop. It is pretty affordable at around 60,000 J-Bucks, and the stats are really good. I think the vehicle is really starting to show its age when it comes to the looks department, and hopefully it'll get a revamp as well someday. But overall, it's definitely one of the best starter vehicles. Up next, the controller. In my opinion, this is one of the most underrated vehicles in Jailbreak. I think it looks great. It has really good stats. I like the overdrive ability it has. It's kind of like a lower tier roadster. It has really good acceleration and a pretty good top speed, especially for the price. However, there's one glaring issue this vehicle has. It's the fact that my legs stick out of the bottom. This is so annoying. It breaks the immersion of playing Jailbreak and driving these cool vehicles around if you can just see the legs of your avatar sticking out of the bottom of the vehicle. Man, I hate that. Besides that glaring issue though, I really like this vehicle, and honestly I wish more people would use it. Then we have the Shell Mark V. In my opinion, this is one of the best looking vehicles in Jailbreak. It's exquisitely put together by Meeg, a guy who honestly should have had more vehicles added to Jailbreak. Like the Challenger, it has really good stats for the price. It's very comparable to the Challenger, but for me, the really good looks of this vehicle push it above the Challenger. A really nice car that I still enjoy driving around. Up next, the Chiron. My biggest issue with the Chiron recently is that since it was the first ever Jailbreak vehicle with an interior, it looks pretty basic and doesn't hold up when compared to modern Jailbreak vehicles with interiors. I was eagerly anticipating a revamp, but honestly, I really wasn't satisfied with the revamp it got in this year's 5 Days of Vehicles. The front looks a lot better, the interior looks pretty good, but the back does not look good and it does not represent the IRL car very well. Putting that aside, it's still quite good when it comes to stats. Recently it got a buff making it the fastest obtainable land vehicle at 320 miles per hour, which is very significant. Definitely a great car, but I just wish that it got a better looks revamp this year, and if it had, then I think it would have been higher on the list. Up next we have the Falcon. One of my favorite parts about this year's 5 Days of Vehicles was how the bikes got revamped. They're much more fun to drive now, and the Falcon 5 is a really enjoyable vehicle. It feels really nice driving it around the map. It has fantastic stats as well. The acceleration is great, and of course it's hard to stop these bikes. They're so thin and hard to shoot down. For the price, I think this vehicle is great and it's so much fun to drive. I think it looks amazing as well. It's definitely one of my favorites of the 5 Days of vehicles. Oh boy, kicking off the top 5, we have the Torero. You know what, I've spoken at great length about this vehicle in previous videos. I'll just let previous NFT cover this one. This is a pretty solid vehicle all around. This is one of the most fun vehicles to drive. The stats are excellent. This isn't one of the faster vehicles in Jailbreak, however, it's very fun to drive, it's easy to handle, and it still has a really good speed. However, the reason I'm kind of dragging it down a little bit is for an incredibly stupid reason. My avatar's legs always stick out from the bottom of the car. My legs are always sticking out of the bottom. My legs always stick out of the bottom. My legs stick out of the bottom. My legs stick out of the bottom. My legs always stick out of the bottom of this vehicle. My legs stick out of the bottom. It's so frustrating. I hate that so much. It's so annoying, so frustrating. It breaks the immersion of driving in Jailbreak. It's really noticeable if the vehicle flips over and it sticks out like a sore leg, I guess. This has been an issue ever since the Torero was added, and I really wish this would get fixed, cause this is always on my mind whenever I use it. Besides that teeny tiny nitpick though, I still like this vehicle a lot. Well, there you have it. Still holding out hope that one day the devs will somehow fix the issue of legs sticking out of the bottom of several vehicles like the Torero, the controller, and the DeLorean. I can't even count the amount of pants I've had to buy to replace the ones worn down by driving this vehicle. Up next, the Stunt Plane. This used to be one of the worst vehicles in the game. Definitely was not worth the $200,000 price tag. The stats were so bad, it was even slower than the Camaro. However, last year the controls were changed to where it was easier to fly and the stats were buffed, so this was actually a much better vehicle. The looks revamped this year only further elevated it. I really like propeller planes. I've loved them since I was a child, so there's just something a bit joyful about flying this plane around in Jailbreak. It's also so much fun to use now that they've added the guns to it. I've had a lot of fun participating in dogfights with my friends, and even if you're playing the game normally, this is a very useful vehicle for shooting down your opponents. I really like this vehicle, and I think it's worth the $300,000 price tag. Kicking off the top 3, we have the Successor. There's not much I can really say about this one. I think it looks fantastic. The top speed isn't as fast as other vehicles you could buy, like the Chiron, but it's still quite good, and I think the acceleration more than makes up for it. It's just a fantastic car. For the penultimate 5 days of vehicles vehicle, we have the Javelin. It's an absolutely beautiful car, and the stats are excellent. The top speed is absolutely incredible. Overall, an amazing vehicle. But the best 5 days of vehicles vehicle, in my opinion, is still the concept car. I really like the futuristic look it has, and I think it's the best blend of speed and acceleration in Jailbreak. It has an amazing top speed, being able to go over 300 miles per hour, but it also has phenomenal acceleration, and it seats 4 people. It's a great team vehicle, especially for richer players who want to play in groups. It is pretty expensive, but in my mind, it's worth every penny, so it comes in number 1. And that's gonna wrap up my updated 5 days of vehicles vehicle ranking. Which one is your favorite? Which 5 days of vehicles event is your favorite? Comment all your thoughts down below. Remember, I have a tire available in Jailbreak. Use code YouTubeNoobFreak if you want to get it for yourself. Also consider becoming a channel member if you want to help support the channel and get some cool perks along with it. Big thank you to my current channel members, Silent Polarization and Scarlet Begonia, for supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night.